Hey guys, it's Alex from 7th Hour Films, and today I'm going to be reviewing Season 2, Episode 8 of the Orville. This is Identity Part 1. So, basically, to kind of explain what I'm doing here, well, first off, I'm on a bit of a review kick after doing the Dragon Ball Super video, and I just kind of want to do more reviews, and this was the perfect episode to do so, and, yeah. So, I did a review of Season 1 of the Orville, and pretty much my thought was I was just going to do another season review for Season 2. But then I watched this episode, and I was like, you know what, I kind of want to talk about this. So, I'm going to be reviewing this episode, and then next week I'm going to be reviewing the next episode, Identity Part 2, Season 2, Episode 9. And yeah, this is just going to be a quick little thing. It's going to be fun. I'm going to try to make this as short as possible, like shorter than my Dragon Ball Super review. So yeah, let's go ahead and get right into it. The first thing to talk about is what happens at the beginning of the episode is Isaac is playing roulette chess. By the way, I'm going to pretty much talk about this episode as if you have seen the previous episodes of the Orville, and I'm not going to talk about stuff specific to the other episodes. So yeah, so we start off with Isaac playing roulette chess with Dr. Finn's sons. Jeez, I almost said daughters, and I think it's just because I said daughter. Blech. So yeah, they're playing this like weird roulette chess game that's really interesting, and it looks straight out of Star Trek, which makes sense because the Orville is very much a Star Trek show, which I love about it. And pretty much before Isaac leaves, he gets deactivated, basically. Well, he basically passes out, and his eyes like go dark. There's nothing there anymore, and he's just kind of out cold. And once they get him back to sick bay. And they're really not sure what to do about him, because the Kalon species is so advanced, they really don't know anything about it. Like, do you need a doctor to do this? Do you need a mechanic? Should we open him up? We're not sure. We don't even know if he's really dead. So Ed gets the okay, basically, to go to Kalon, which is a big deal because no Union ship has ever actually been to Kalon. And so, yeah, that is a big deal because the Kalon do view themselves as superior beings, which, in a sense, they are. And so they're very much like they're not a part of the Union yet, and they're trying to understand the other life forms in the galaxy, which is why they sent Isaac as an emissary aboard the Orville in order to study these different beings in the Union. And so the Orville goes to Kalon, and luckily they are scanned and okayed just before they're shot down and destroyed. And they go there and they say, look, you sent us this emissary, and we don't know what's wrong with him, but we figured you guys would be able to help, and you would want to help. And they basically say that Isaac was deactivated, or the model you call Isaac has been deactivated because they don't call it Isaac. It's just they never gave a specific designation, but they never really referred to it as Isaac, other than saying this is the unit that you call Isaac. So yeah, they say that Isaac was deactivated because basically he completed his mission, and that's very interesting because we've kind of been seeing a lot more of his mission recently, with his relationship with Dr. Finn and stuff like that. So it's very interesting that just right there, his mission's just over. Like, you wouldn't think it would be over so quickly. And another part of this meeting between the Union, led by Captain Mercer, and the Kalon is the Union does want the Kalon to join the Union, basically, because the Kaylon are a very powerful race, and they have a lot of unique resources that the Union could take advantage of, especially in the war with the Krill. So yeah, that's kind of what this whole episode sort of revolves around. Well, okay, half of the episode revolves around the talks, basically, of trying to get the Kaylon on board with joining the Union. And they do actually reactivate Isaac, even though they say, like, well, he's done, his mission is done, we're going to deactivate him, reboot him, basically, and reintegrate him into our society. But because, the crew doesn't want to give up Isaac so quickly, they do allow Isaac to just be reactivated normally, and Isaac goes and talks to them and says, my mission is done, and I am leaving the Orville, basically. So, yeah, we're kind of losing Isaac, but we'll get to that in a sec. So, we get a bit more talk between Kaylon Prime, which is the main Kaylon that the Union is talking to. And so we get more talks between Kaylon Prime and Ed and Kelly. And they do talk about it, like, because the Kaylon are kind of taking a while. They're really trying to, decide now, should they go ahead and join the Union. And they're going over all the data that Isaac has collected in his time on the Orville. And part of that, can be viewed, poorly, some of that. Like, okay, they bring up, like, the humiliation that Isaac has gone through, and Ed and Kelly don't really understand, and the Kaylon Prime brings up the Mr. Potato Head incident, where, sure enough, I believe, what was his name? Malloy, that's it. Sorry, I'm trying to keep everyone's names straight. Malloy basically put Mr. Potato Head pieces on Isaac, just because it was funny. And, the Kaylon view this as humiliating and insulting, but Ed tries to explain, like, Isaac wanted to understand humor. That was the next thing that he was studying. So he asked our ship's navigator, or our pilot, basically, like, to help him in that. And so that's what our pilot did. That's what Malloy did. And then in return, Isaac, cut off his leg. And so it's like, he tries to explain it away, but you can tell the Kaylon are not happy about this attempted humor, basically. And so they go off, and deliberations are still being made amongst the Kaylon in order to decide whether to join the Union. And while that's happening, Isaac basically says, I am leaving the Orville, and eventually they actually throw a going away party to Isaac, which is actually kind of nice. And, they, even though he can't eat, like, any of the food that's there, he can't drink any of, like, the champagne or anything, and he really doesn't care about that because he has no emotions, but he does stay there. And we've got Malloy singing to him and stuff like that, and then they ask that he gives a speech, and so he just kind of pulls one out of his databanks, which is funny. And so yeah, that's kind of cool. And then we get a scene between Isaac, Dr. Finn, and the boys, because they are sad that Isaac is leaving, because they kind of thought that eventually he and Dr. Finn would get married, which I have to say, in hindsight, that the whole relationship between Isaac and Dr. Finn, that, I don't know, I was never fully on board with that, where it's like, on the one hand, it's like, well, this isn't, like, poorly written or anything, like, especially the episode where they go into that, like, it was a good episode, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know, because we know that Isaac is really just doing this in order to study, humans and, other life forms. So why would he, it's like, I don't know. I was never fully on board with that. They know he has no emotion, so he's not in love with Dr. Finn, but at the same time, we did have that scene earlier where in a previous episode where like it not being in a relation, like upsetting Dr. Finn and not being in the relationship was like actually starting to mess with his head, which was an interesting scene. But yeah, so yeah, the boys are disappointed that Isaac's leaving because they felt like they were really becoming his friends, and they were kind of excited, like, ooh, maybe freaking Isaac will be our new father and stuff like that, and that is interesting. And the younger one, Ty, actually gives him like a drawing. It's like of the four of them, and he's just like, don't forget us. And Isaac's like, you have been stored in my memory banks. I will not forget you. Which, on the one hand, it's such a cold, robotic line, but at the same time, it's like, well, he's not forgetting you, so there is that. That's something. But Ty is very upset that Isaac is leaving, and so suddenly, too. And even Dr. Finn is incredibly mad that Isaac is just completely done. He's done with the Orville, and he's just going to go back home, and that's that. Just nothing else. No care about this relationship he's in, which does make sense. It does make sense that she would be mad, but at the same time, she does understand it, which is good. I do like that. That the conflict, there's not really a big conflict about Isaac leaving, necessarily. The conflict now comes in, okay, first off, Ty, is upset, and when Isaac is leaving the Orville, he just, he kind of looks at the, drawing, and he just drops it, and then he just walks away, because he doesn't care about that, he doesn't understand it, and he has no need to keep it. So granted, he still won't forget it, because it's all here, it's all in his memory banks, but yeah, or wherever his memory banks are on him, but whatever. So yeah, Ty ends up finding the drawing and is really sad that Isaac didn't take it, that Isaac threw it away, basically, and he goes off on Kalon to actually find Isaac and try to give him the picture. And this is where I got kind of nervous, like, oh my gosh, is this how things are going to go awry? Because I already knew this was a part 1. So I was like, okay, this has to be the conflict of the episode, is that this is where, like, the Kalon are going to find him and is a trespasser and stuff like that. But it doesn't go there. Ty ends up in these caves. Kalon, by the way, kind of looks like Scarrow fully realized, at least the Scarrow I've seen in early Doctor Who. But yeah, like, just looking around, like, when they go into Kalon, like, they take the entire Orville down to the surface, which is pretty cool, and we get this really wide shot of Kalon, and it's really nice. And then yeah, Ty kind of goes into a tunnel and then finds a cave underground and stuff like that. And it's like, this is very much like the Dalek home planet from the old Doctor Who serials. So that was interesting. And so then they discover back on the Orville, they discover that Ty is missing, and Tala and Bortus are sent down to go find him, and Dr. Finn goes too, and they eventually do find him, and they go to the cave, and I don't know how many times I can say but they go to the cave, and they look around, and then they just see bones. A lot of bones. Like, there's a ton of bones down there, and they show it to the Orville, and they do a sweeping shot looking at all these mounds of bones. And then the Orville basically scans the planet, and sure enough, there are so many graveyards all around the planet, And this is cause for concern. So, who all goes down? I believe it's Ed, Kelly, Dr. Finn, and I think Tala. I don't think any... Yeah, that's it. Ed, Kelly, Dr. Finn, and Tala go down to talk to Kalon Prime and Isaac, actually. They actually go down to talk to Isaac, and they ask, like, what's with these graveyards, with these mass graveyards, basically. And Isaac just says, like, you don't need to worry about that. And it's like, well, yeah, we do need to worry about that. And Isaac explains that those are the bones of the former species of Kalon, which is like, what are you talking about? And sure enough, he says, like, the people that are down there are the ones that created the Kalon that we know, like Kalon Prime and Isaac. And eventually, the Kalon saw what their creators, like, they realized that their creators were inferior and were going to, like, be in the way of their evolution, so they just killed them all. Which is also very Dalek, actually, which is interesting. This whole thing is, like, this is kind of Dalek-ish, but it's still interesting. But at the same time, a lot of robots do that. I mean, just look at, like, Skynet or something like that. Like, evil robots killing their masters is not something new, but this does remind me of the Dalek situation. So yeah. So that's the thing. And then Isaac basically says, like, you should realize by now that the Kalon have no interest in joining the Union. And, like, so yeah, they basically Ed says, like, look, you know what? That's fine. Our negotiations here are done. Let us leave, and we won't tell anyone about this. And that's not gonna fly. And creepily enough, like, these guns just come out of the Kalon heads, and like, yeah, that's just weird and creepy and ugh. And yeah, sure enough, they aren't allowed to leave, and Ed tries to contact Bortus, who's still on the Orville. He tries to contact Bortus to tell him to get the hell out of there and warn the Union, but he's cut off, and Bortus and the Orville can't escape. So yeah, then the Kalon board the Orville and pretty much take it over. A lot of people are killed by the Kalon, which sucks, but yeah, a lot of people dead, but mostly the ones that fought back. There were a lot of people that just kind of submitted because they really couldn't do anything. So, and then eventually they get to the bridge, and before, like, you know, Bortus can do anything, Ed is taken with the Kalon and tells Bortus to stand down so that no one else dies. And sure enough, all the Kalon take over the ship, and Isaac even goes back to his station because he's one of them. And the Orville takes off, and so do all the ships that are on Kalon. And sure enough, they are headed for Earth. And next episode, we're going to get the Kalon invasion of Earth. So, woo. So yeah, really great episode. Really enjoyed this one. And such an interesting, like, twist to put on Isaac, because, you know, it is sort of simple, like, when you think about it, it's like, okay, the Kalon view themselves as superior. We've seen that throughout this entire show, that the Kalon view themselves as superior, but they've never taken any action against those that they feel are inferior until now. Because now they have evaluated everything that Isaac has learned, and they view the Union as a threat, and they need to take it out. So, yeah, that is interesting. And then the twist that Isaac is now a villain, basically. Like, I don't know if they can really redeem Isaac. Like, maybe they will, but after this, I don't see how they could really do that. Like, I think Isaac is going to be a villain for now. And yeah, so we'll have to see what happens next time. But yeah, overall, really great episode, and I'm excited to see where we're going next time. So yeah, with all that being said, I'm Alex from 7th Hour Films, and I will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. If you want to watch more of my Orville reviews, I guess, you can click on the playlist. You can subscribe if you haven't done that already, and be sure you hit that notification bell. You can support me on Patreon and follow me on social media. Links below in the description. See you guys later.